at this point, I'm beginning to wonder, do they have, like, internal scrims to decide who's going to play on stage that day? They have, like,
I'm starting to wonder whether we have
ranking.
a coin flip to decide who plays on stage every day. I think it's getting worse than that, but we're going to find out whether or not it is genius or craziness, as Hanwha Life Esports are going to meet Afreeca Freecs here in the draft. And blue side will be Hanwha, Silas banned. I don't know why, but it's going to get banned first. Let's just not talk about it.
I'm glad you did it for me.
Yeah, don't worry, I got you now. I got you now.
I'm not trying to get banned here.
I like to be objective, but I feel like Silas has been objectively not good so far in the LCK, apart from a couple of performances. And, you know, when Griffin pick it, I don't think that's included.
That doesn't count.
When Nogari goes 0-3-0 in lane and then gets a cheat team fight and then wins with it, that doesn't count. So far, things haven't been great. He's going to be banned anyway.
And Thresh now being banned away by Afreeca.
Yeah, so the Rise hitting the bench is an interesting one. Sun has been playing mostly Zoe and solo queue, but solo queue is a difficult stat here for the Afreeca Freecs, because if you have a look at the dates and the timestamps, like the 4th game that you go down the list in, that was a month ago. A
lot of people don't want to play solo queue right now in Korean teams, and I've talked about this on Twitter. I mean, even I'm coaching BBQ, and the players dread solo queue.
Are we in in-house territories now? Are we going for in-houses?
Basically it. They just either request more scrims or they request a side activity, because solo queue is just a mess.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to get genuine good practice right now, reset rank. And so right now, moving into the first pick here for Hanwha Life Esports, you have to be wondering, I mean, how are they going to try to sculpt the
Don't have a heart attack yet, because it's not going to be picked.
It's not going to be locked in.
Ezreal is available. Don't worry, we're okay. Normalcy has hit the rift here as Sungyun going to be piloting the Ezreal. He has had a decent performance so far on the pickup here, only been able to play it 3 times and only been able to pick up 1 win. But that 1 win was impressive when we did see it. Sungyun not necessarily known as one of our key Ezreal players though, so Afreeca with an opportunity to play around it. Lissandra being looked at here. Be heading most likely towards the mid lane and is going to be locked away. So certainly a set piece is Urgot. I mean, you can just grab him if you want to, but the Galio also up and can be put into the hands of Senin. And now Hanwha Life Esports are a little bit worried about this Ezreal pick, because if I cast my mind back, if you think about what Sol was known for, it was Kalista, and he was goddamn brilliant at it. And what has it been paired with? Been paired with
Galio. Right, and so I'm expecting that to be Afreeca's next pick right here.
But they've got the dream duo of Ezreal Zoe. This is scary to come up against.
Yeah, it is definitely stolen away, and you have to wonder why you would pick the Lissandra as early on for Afreeca. It is very surprising, and Afreeca now, maybe having watched the game from earlier on today, they want to do this all-in super aggro comp, and stylistically, it can work very well, and we saw this earlier on today, but with SK Telecom versus Damwon, where it's a collision of 2 types of team compositions. One is designed to try to kite backwards and juggle all the aggro coming in at it, and one is to find the slight crack in the armor to just utilize the timing to plow right through before the jugglers are able to stabilize and dish out the poke damage. So now, second ban phase, Yorick targeted away
from Tal, yeah, of course, because Tal's Yorick is pretty incredible. Urgot going to be the ban here, so definitely some top lane coverage, and Keen likes this because he's most likely going to get delivered the last pick option, unless he's going to be piloting that Vladimir. Still a lot of flexibility in this Afreeca Freecs draft. We could be putting everything in multiple different lanes at this point in time. Demonstrated very recently by the mid lane Galio coming out from Faker. It wasn't to a win, but you can understand why they were playing it. SKT still playing around Faker's Galio, name a more iconic duo. Sivir going to be banned here on the side of Hanwha Life Esports, and you can understand that one as well. That was another thing that we saw win in the hands of Damwon, the Sivir/Vladimir combo.
Let's see here if they end up... No, they're waiting for the ADC to decide what they want to do with it. They are picking the Lee Sin, so continuing on with that super aggressive nature.
Yeah, and what I was talking about with the fact that, you know, we're still flexing the Vladimir, things like that.
Yes.
That Vlad could be going towards the bottom side of the map, which is why I mentioned that Keen can have that counter pick opportunity. Picking away the Vladimir from Sungyun as well. I mean, he's played it once, but it was very scary when he picked that one up. And Bono, back to an old favorite here in the Xin Zhao. What does Key pick here? I don't know whether it will be Wukong. But what do they decide to go with? I think more keep away would be pretty cool. But Tal, he can just hop on a potato on the top side of the map if he wants to. Get tanking. Because Ezreal and Zoe are happy to skip around a team fight. We need some sort of mitigation. And the Scion is going to fit that role pretty beautifully. This is a composition that we've seen time and time again.
Saw a very similar version of it earlier on today.
Yeah.
So basically this whole team comp is just about Ezreal and Zoe.
That's
and
what I'm talking about. Lock it in.
They
There
end up
we go.
blocking the Kalista. Kalista going to be very good against the Xin Zhao and the Scion. And that does mean that the Vladimir will move top lane, most likely with Kleptomancy.
Yeah,
so that he's going to be able to accelerate so quickly. Now, the one edge that Hanwha Life Esports is going to be able to find is the Zoe in the mid lane against the Lissandra is a counter matchup for them. Bottom lane, Ezreal with Kleptomancy going to try to maybe balance out the gold advantage Afreeca nets up in the top lane, and obviously Ezreal just wants to scale. But the 1 and 2 item spikes for Afreeca is where it really gets scary for Hanwha Life Esports, because Zoe and Ezreal both want to get to 3 items. That's when the bubbles and the mystic shots start really threatening to just delete champions on Afreeca's lineup. But as we saw earlier, the game is never really over, and the gold scores between these type of comps don't matter all that much.
Yeah, it's 2 compositions with different game plans, which is what we were talking about in our previous series, and is what makes games like this so much more interesting, because there's way more to track than just looking up top and saying they've got a bigger number, they're going to win. And often you can do that when comps have similar ideas, similar game plans, but that is certainly not what's happening here. I love the response from the Afreeca Freecs, keeping the Vladimir in a lane, chucking it by himself on the top side of the map, and then picking the Kalista. Such a strong pick for Sol, but also giving Vlad a brilliant lane up top side. But I'm glad you mentioned the Zoe, because I feel like mid-priority is what most teams play around, and that is exactly what Hanwha managed to get in what is a team composition that can transition beautifully into later stages of the game as well, if they can kite back and take control. A lot of things to talk about here for both of these teams. Let's hear from the fans. And here we go. Rookie Sennen paired with Sol, who's got a lot of experience, but not necessarily at the top tier of LCK thus far, but dodges his first skill shot. There we go. Nailed it. Cut the video. We're done. Successful re-debut into the LCK for Sol.
You play Magic the Gathering Atlas?
No, I don't. I feel like that's the one thing that we're missing synergistically.
I think you need to just get on that. Arena is free to play.
Well, my problem is that, you know, I already spent way too much money on Hearthstone, and so if I need to be buying cards and stuff like that, I know how much those things cost.
I would honestly say Arena is much more free to play than Hearthstone.
Okay.
I really do think so.
But if I'm going to play a card game, I'm going to play the game that I put about $1 bajillion into, you know?
Well, let me give the chat an analogy really quick.
All right, give the chat an analogy.
These 2 team comps is your standard control versus mono red aggro. Mono red aggro comes out the window and gets enough damage. Control can't stabilize, doesn't matter. If control sees its cards, though, there's almost nothing aggro can do. It just go next.
Right. I mean, that works. It's a somewhat Hearthstone situation as well. You know, you get to 10 mana without dying against some of these aggro decks. You feel okay. I understand the analogy. Okay, I think I can keep up. Even though the game I play doesn't have lands and things like that. It's very confusing.
How about Murlocs versus Mage?
Yeah,
you
there
can
we
just
go.
Freeze them, AoE them down. You know, it's nothing going for it.
If you pick up your Flame Strike, you win. Nicely said. All right, well, there's a lot of people that we've alienated in the chat who don't play card games like that, but hopefully there's a lot of people that now understand what these 2 comps want to be doing. I'm going to be describing it as put your face into it composition versus a composition that wants to play with a little bit more finesse, and that's not finesse coming in from Sennen, but Sol is demonstrating exactly why this pick was feared even when he was on the last place team in the LCK. Felt like you banned away Kalista, and everything was fine back in, I believe, 2017 for Sol.
How are you feeling about these skin choices down here in bottom lane? We got classic Tom Kench. We got
I don't care because there's a chicken. And as soon as Chicken Galio's picked up, it's just the best. And you know, I'm a bit in 2 minds about Kalista in general, because I think base skin actually looks close to the coolest.
Yep.
for Kalista, but I like Bang's Kalista skin just because Bang was so good at Kalista. So it's not necessarily about... Oh yeah, Blood Moon's also pretty cool.
Blood Moon's really good.
Especially when you've got Blood Moon Thresh as well, and then like, oh, you feel like the controls there.
That is indeed the best skin combo. What do you think is the best skin in the game?
The best skin in the game?
Yep.
Oh man, this is a loaded question. And it's evolved a lot of times.
It has a correct answer.
It does?
Yeah.
Oh. I can't think of one that stands out as the best.
BMO.
Oh my god, no. You could have said so many things. You could have said so many things. And that's not that. What? No. I mean, it is the most played Teemo skin. I did see that stat, as posted thanks to League of Legends on Twitter. However, I wouldn't have chosen that one. There's the Recon Teemo, there's Cottontail. Yeah, there's a lot of Teemo options. I don't even think that's the best Teemo skin, let alone the best skin. And it's definitely not this skin. So Keen has probably the worst Vladimir skin in the game. It's just like they took off any hair texture. That's straight up what it is. It's like we couldn't be bothered giving him hair. And let's make his whole suit black. Like, that's the Vladimir skin that we're getting ourselves just there. Triggers a lot of people. I use it every game. Every game.
Isn't this the rarest Vladimir skin?
Yeah, it is. It looks terrible. No one would play it. And also, you can't get it outside of Hallow's End. And I don't know why, but I was really sad that I couldn't get it outside of Hallow's End. Might have been because the splash art looked cool. I don't know.
That's a question. What's your favorite Halloween skin?
That's right,
I'm learning a lot about you today.
It's definitely Spooky Nocturne. Spooky Nocturne is easily the best.
That one is pretty good.
He's got his little troll face. And Spirit uses it every game.
Yep.
That makes me very happy.
What about the Pumpkinhead Fiddlesticks?
Also a fan. That was one of the first ones that I bought, actually, out of the Hallowed skins, apart from Kitty Cat Katarina. As Senin uses his Justice Punch very nicely there to tank up some damage and allow Sol to go back home. He has gone for the Hail of Blades, which is what we saw out of Teddy, and he has gone for this back timing where he hits 40 CS and goes back and gets Berserker's Greaves as soon as he possibly can. I can understand that. He is definitely high value on the Kalista, but it will mean that the lane shove comes in for Sangyun at about the right time as well, because he gets all of his mana back and can go and get himself a Sheen. So not going to be worried about it on the side of Hanwha Life. Senin comes on down and grabs himself a bit of the farm before he goes back home as well and allows the Kalista to farm. So bringing it back to the video game at hand. Not a whole lot is going on. Dread is pathing towards his own jungle yet again. Just got some deep vision down, control ward and a regular ward. That Krug camp not actually going to be stolen away, but is lying in wait. With vision available, he will see Bono as he gets on over there as Sun makes his way in. Tempt gets frozen, tombed, and Dread just flashing on in, lands the Q and secures the first blood. Bono gets on in there. Key's going to get first rotation, but Sol out of nowhere, and he doesn't have ultimate. Make sure you keep that in mind here as Key does get the Devour, but the damage is done, and Afreeca get first blood.
And Afreeca pick up a really key first blood as Lissandra still has teleport available, going to be able to come back into the lane immediately. Actually elects to stay, does still have some mana, and knowing that Xin Zhao not going to be able to do anything in mid, although there are some pings. I think that Sion's going for an ultimate in mid.
Well, he's certainly going for an ultimate somewhere, but we're not going to see it right now. We're going to have to catch that when it comes back again. And Temps just in a really weird position. Does have Cleanse available, of course, but he's just too far forward in this lane. He can't pick up enough flashes to get himself out of that disaster.
And there was a pretty cookie-cutter way of bringing down the Zoe, just mismanaging the lane state. And as we jump back into live, we're going to have to see if there was a conclusion to the Sion ultimate.
Well, I mean, he's top lane, so I assume he was
Director's
just ulting
cut
back
only.
to lane. Yeah.
Atlas, okay, thank you.
All right, that's going to be in there. Is this going to be as good as the Blade Runner Director's cut, or not quite?
Blade Runner.
Oh,
Blade
no.
Runner.
Come on. Come on, LS. That's not okay. That's not okay. It's not. It's probably the most game-changing sci-fi movie of all time. One of Harrison Ford's best performances. As Tempt is going to get Circle of Frosted, but the Chlorodoom gets Sun out of it. Oh,
I really don't know. What is it? When did it come out?
Are you trolling me?
When did it come out?
Probably around the 80s.
Okay, then it's not one of the most game-changing.
It is.
Star Wars.
No. It was the first movie about space that demonstrated that space was sorry, the future that demonstrated that the future was dirty. And Star Wars actually isn't about the future. It's just it's a long time ago.
It's about the future.
Yeah, no. But like, so it actually changed a lot about what people expected from sci-fi. Because sci-fi before that was all like everything's clean and sort of sterile in the future and things
Chrome
like that.
And stuff.
Yeah, and everything looks new because that's what you think about the future. You think that the future's new, but this demonstrates that it doesn't have to be new.
You know, as I get older, the future looks worse and worse, mostly because my eyesight keeps getting worse. So everything starts to lose detail and looks more dull and gray.
Well, I mean, obviously, eye problems shared between you and the director of Blade Runner. Because he had that brilliant idea, and it might have been because the future was getting worse and worse as he was going as well. Not entirely sure. But you should watch the movie, and definitely watch the second one as well that came out very recently, which is Blade Runner 2049. Also a beautiful film. One that I was a fan of is Tal is battling against Keen here, but it's only going to get worse and worse as this goes on. It's Kindle Gem picked up first, couldn't quite get towards the Fiendish Codex, could Keen, so that means he's only missing 10% CDR, and then he's in the Promised Land, soon going to be level 9, and that's when Tal's just going to have the worst time ever. Wondering when he can go back and build as much magic resist as possible. That will make his life against Soul and Dread not as fun at the same time.
Lissandra gonna just be trying to endlessly, sorry about that, shove out the mid lane really
quick. It's not your eyesight that's the only issue here, I think.
I'm dying today.
Yeah. He is actually unwell. Just to remind you guys, we did mention it at the top of the broadcast, but that was a long time ago now. LS has not been feeling super crash hot, so we're doing our best to send him our energy. So you have to forgive him if sometimes words just don't work.
Last night, they hit me with a double whammy.
What was that?
I was here, and the dinner had nuts on the food, so
oh, no.
I was like, "What? Can't touch that." Last night, get home,
MC
looking to have some food. I ordered some chicken. Chicken has nuts.
Oh.
So
let down by your own company.
Oh
man! Well. And we're also let down by this train always being used to get back to lane. It's going to be a Durham's Fist as well as a Catalyst picked up by Tal, so he's gone a lot into getting himself more health, not necessarily a lot into getting himself more magic resist, which is an interesting one. See how that one pans out for him. He is up against Keen. Can be a rough time, but means that Keen will be doing very close to true damage now with Soft Boots completed. In goes Bono. Oh my god, the 3-man taunt from Senin as Soul's able to get lots of sticks in there, but it's not quite enough to lock down any kills. Sun will turn up in time as the Claw comes forward. Does have Flash available, but holds on to it because he don't need it. Afreeca Freecs their second kill, and it looks real clean yet again.
And Bono ends up going
so
down,
much.
But Zoe and Ezreal.
Exactly right. Tempt does hijack himself for Flash right now. We know that Zoe's are super good at being able to get things like this done, but the taunt is used point blank there from Senin and avoids any extra damage from Tempt, but this does mean that the Dragon resets and priority goes over to Hanwha Life.
And so even though Afreeca have a slight gold advantage right now, you do have to remember that their team composition is going to be spiking in the next couple of minutes here, and they're going to be looking to really go for something as we take a quick look at this replay. Excellent taunt by Senin. And it looks like Afreeca really just wanted to capture this Mountain Drake, but Sun, you can see, he's really forcing the agenda in what otherwise should have been a free mountain capture. And then after this, it was very easy for Ezreal and Zoe to repel the remaining members of Afreeca.
Yeah, Zoe making her way in there was the real big deal play here as Senin turns around. But as you can see, Afreeca are going to get back to this Drake. It's not Hanwha that are able to actually take that one down. So no harm, no foul here at this stage. And as we look at this game, as it plays out, it does feel like Hanwha are on somewhat of a clock because there is a Vladimir in the game. I know it is largely some play-by-play analysis where I see Vlad and I'm like, late game, all right. But I mean, of course, if you play around a Zoe correctly, you can certainly win some of those late skirmishes as well. We have seen it. It's just a little bit more difficult when there's that Hemoplague threat always looming in the background, even if you chose the wrong skin.
Now at this point, the game will slow down temporarily, as Infernal will be coming up in 4.5 minutes. That's a very, very high priority dragon for both of these teams. Ezreal and Zoe obviously want to get it to amplify their ability of just poking and withering away at the Afreeca team comp, but Afreeca obviously wants it for their all-in potential, as every little bit of damage counts during those few seconds that they're all just trying to go off at once. And right now,
during the Hemoplague, right? You need to be trying to get it down during that Hemoplague. And I think that this Mountain Drake is actually very important for Hanwha, because if Afreeca gets it, then they get a lot of Baron control, because Kalista is, of course, on the team as Bono looking to come in, but Keen hiding behind the wall. The kickback does land. That's a phenomenal devour coming in from Key, as Dread does secure the Rift Herald, and they lose the Tahm Kench. There are kills going everywhere. A double for Vladimir. And Keen, one of the remaining members that has not been swapped once on this squad, demonstrating exactly why.
Yeah, and a lot of people have argued him to be one of, if not the best top laner in the world at several points throughout the last couple of months, and so no surprise there to not see him. Well, that was a really weird replay bug.
Shelly gets confused.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense. Yeah. And basically, Afreeca, at this point, they managed to somehow convince Hanwha Life to take a fight in front of the Herald, and this is actually an example of Hanwha Life not really assessing the two team compositions accurately enough, because even if the Rift Herald goes down, it's not the end of the world. The Hanwha Life Esports team comp can fall behind several thousand gold and still be okay, as long as Ezreal and Zoe get to the point where, as long as you land the bubble, everything's going to be A-okay. And so they panic a little bit and try to go to the Herald to contest it, and end up giving up a few advantages.
Yeah, and I feel like, yes, they can get behind, but they also really don't want Keen to get accelerated. Because a Vladimir that can take control of a mid-game is something that they just won't have the damage to actually be able to deter, right? Because these trouble bubbles need to be able to secure paddle stars that are going to murder you. And you can see Tempt, with just the one item up against Sun here, who's already built some health in the Proto Belt, he's able to shrug off a lot of that damage despite being a few creeps behind. Certainly exactly what you want out of this guy is Keen. Free damage on top of Tal. He has taken Phase Rush, so a lot more respect given. Not going for the Kleptomancy like you said he certainly had available to him. No Frostmancy available, guys. Remember, we do finally have the hotfix. Thank goodness.
Yeah, I mean, the Phase Rush does definitely help with making it a lot easier for him to wiggle into the backline.
Yeah, it's about backline access here for Keen and being able to get himself around once he's there. Saw that already working as he activated the Phase Rush very, very early by exploding Bono's health bar. And you see, he's got the dream amount of items right now. He's got his stopwatch as well as Proto Belt for the utility, and he's got the extra cooldown reduction from the Fetish Codex and the damage from the Sork Boots that you can get yourself there. With those runes, it's okay. A lot of damage coming down as Keen. Key going to be the focus. Soul, just delivery of the Gargoyle, and that's all too easy. Tempt lands a lot of damage, but it's just not enough. And look, if you think about it, that's exactly what we were talking about. In a different game state, Sol was dead right there, and Hanwha can go back in. Sangyun over to the side as Sun trying to get out, has already flashed, and that is a kill secured there by the Ezreal. And this is what Hanwha fans need to happen this game.
And right now, after all the dust settles, it's going to be an Infernal coming up in about 45 seconds. Thal trying to clear the mid lane. Sangyun gonna have blue buff available for the dragon fight, and that's actually very, very big and key. So, taking another quick look at this replay, you can see Sol gets knocked away, but it doesn't matter that much. Dread is able to follow Key all the way into the Raptor area, and right there at the end, Sol ends up getting hit by a bubble, followed up with the Paddle Star, chunked quite a bit, but then Sun, he gets hit with the bubble as well. Not really too much he can do about it. That's all she wrote.
And you also
actually died.
You gotta respect that sort of bubble location as well, because getting it over that terrain is something that we see Zoe's do all the time. As Senin, True Shot Barrage is going to come in, actually trying to turn that one around as Tempt gets on in there. The last auto attack is going to be enough to do it. You've got a teleport coming in from Tal on the Scion, very close to getting his ultimate back up again, but Sol is free hitting in the backline. It's the Rend that locks him down. The train just goes straight past, but is able to knock down Dread. We still do have a Callista up here, but that Infernal that you're talking about has also just respawned. Senate Hero's entrance is going to be available. He can get back in sooner than you'd expect.
And now the Infernal, I think it's just going to be given over for free, and so this is a massive victory for Hanwha Life.
Oh, and Keen, a
yeah,
little
he's
bit
coming
late.
in. Oh, he's going to be able to get
Yeah, that's what
Bono.
He's dead.
Oh. Yeah, he stays within.
Yeah, I wasn't ready to believe in the Xin Zhao's ability to get away from a phase rush Vladimir at that point in time. He's even got himself a really big stick. And those hurt.
Do they hurt?
Yeah, they do. As Tempt, that's not his real flash.
Whoa!
As almost able to get it with the Proto Belt, but not quite able to weave in some more sparkles at the end there. So all getting towards this 2-item spike though for the Callista, and you do have to respect what this guy can do on this pick. It's been a long time since we've spoken about it. I'm having a lot of fun talking about it again because he was a joy to watch and has been already. So far this game, second turret going to go over to the Afreeca Freecs, having eradicated the top lane of its outer, and the bottom lane also going to be relieved of theirs as well. So in an outer turret in the mid lane, most likely going to be the next option, and if you believe the pings, will be.
And right now in this game here, we'll take another quick look at the replay. You can see Galio gets locked up by the bubble, tries to go back in, doesn't do anything with the Justice Punch. Tempt, really quick to pounce on that error, as it was a full-on retreat at that point. Tahm Kench came in, wanted to make a quick donation off the tomb, and then right here, Soul flashed out of the way, I guess respecting Zoe and Ezreal's ability to maybe kill him during the CC of the Scion, and then Bono not having the best of games here in game number 1.
Not so much. Hemo play going down before the Tides of Blood explosion as well, just to maximize the damage. Love to see Vladimir play correctly, as Key feels like crab for dinner today. And as, you know, as someone who also lives in Korea, I know that crab in this country, pretty delicious.
Do catfish eat crabs?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Catfish do a lot of fossicking.
So what is on my screen right now?
The catfish. Yeah, but Key, piloting the catfish, is the one that told him to go and eat the crab. So it might have been, you know, a bit of, like, I don't want to do that, says
I'm not
the catfish.
impressed.
All right.
Not impressed.
He's just not role-playing well enough?
Well, he gave it to the human.
Yeah.
Human ate it.
That's true. That's true. See? It's just a... And he's the master chef.
That's a pretty smart catfish.
Yeah, okay. Because that's not a very smart expectation of that situation. Wasn't actually what really happened, guys. So I was going to say not a smart Scion, but that's just what we thought the Scion was doing. Wasn't actually what the Scion was doing. The old visual bugs do keep things a little bit more lively here as Tempt clears out minions very easily, and Bono wants to get an audacious charge range, but instead he's going to get pierced. Key with the Devour is in there, and you can see exactly what the Tahm Kench does for this composition, because the Afreeca Freecs, they want to lock down a target, and Key can just gobble them up and avoid any sort of pick potential from actually working out. As Tal looking for the first turret for Hanwha Life Esports. And as this game goes on, I feel like the war of attrition is being won by Hanwha. Hasn't been represented in the gold just yet, but Afreeca are desperately trying to throw things into them. This Hanwha composition is just playing around this dragon advantage, this neutral advantage, and the fact that they can just Tahm Kench anyone out of danger.
You can see that
worry.
Sun is trying his best to hold on to this bottom turret. It's missing a little bit of CS there, not the end of the world. And so Afreeca, their one hope still in this game is Keen on the Vladimir, finding some way to bring down Ezreal and Zoe. And interestingly, some people might look at this and be like, well, why does Ezreal have a Trinity Force in this game and not an Iceborne Gauntlet? And the reasoning for that is because the Iceborne Gauntlet doesn't do all that much against the team comp of Afreeca, so it's better to just have the raw damage and access that the Trinity Force can grant you.
And also to go for the biggest 2-item power spike he can possibly find in this game as well, because he knows that it's going to be hard to contend with the extra damage of the Vladimir in the late game. Soul is going to be very tricky to lock down once he's got a few items. So I can understand wanting to be able to take control of this portion of the game as much as possible, and you can see working out very well there as Senan loses the majority of his health bar. more Qs actually landing here as the Galio has to leave. Means that a whole lot of control is now given over to Hanwha Life. Carl makes his way up, and there's just no vision available anymore for the Afreeca Freecs. And okay, in he goes. Sun trying to make things happen. Devour comes in. The knockup is good, though, as is going to go devoured. Okay, really nice pullback there from Soul with the Fate's Call. And now, Vladimir. You mentioned, can he kill the Ezreal? The answer is yes, and he'll take a Xin Zhao with it.
And that's going to be Afreeca potentially, surely now, going to be managing to get themselves the Mountain Drake.
Wow, we went from like the king of ocean drakes in our previous series to about as many cool drakes as you can possibly find. Next one going to be Infernal, alternating them. As Mountain into Infernal seems to be the way to go, as Dread not going to get hit by those buttons that Tempt is throwing out, but this is Tempt's time to shine as we move towards 25 minutes. That's when all of these bubbles need to be landing. And Afreeca needs to be one man down almost all the time.
I don't watch all the games in other regions, but sometimes I do see games, I check their post-game results and I see that it ended somehow in 23 or 24 minutes.
Yeah.
And I just wonder how. What is actually going on? Because in LCK you can see that the champions, for the most part, can wave clear well enough, and due to the lack of items available, you can't really just run down the Nexus super early. But taking a look at this team fight, just watch Vladimir. Initially, he's doing so much help with taking down Bono, and then right there flashes over and says, hey, I'm going for Ezreal, manages to get it as Zoe just has to watch on.
And the bubble just surfs over the top of him there as well, so not going to be able to find anything. The pool party not going to be able to be any match for just the pool. Spellbinder done here for Keen, and he's got 3 items. He's about as happy as he can possibly be. Surprised he went for Spellbinder first before grabbing the Rabbidan's Death Cap, because he would have been very close to being able to pick up that one as well, but wanted just a little bit of a cheaper item, a little bit of an earlier power spike there, and can certainly pop off a lot harder if you can coordinate both of those, but he's a 5-0-0 Vladimir, so he can do whatever the heck he wants.
Now at this point, both teams will likely just continue to posture until that third Infernal Drake ends up coming up. Look at the stacking of magic resistance on the side of Hanwha Life, and this is primarily because, yes, Kalista is threatening, but the real threat that you have to deal with is the Lissandra engage and the Vladimir AoE, because if you can manage to weather that storm, Zoe and Ezreal can eventually bring down the members, and Kalista just doesn't matter. She's sort of a supportive champion in this type of a team composition, interestingly enough.
And Hanwha Life need to build towards their win conditions, right? And their win condition is destroy Soul and then kill the rest. You know, like, they're going to jump on top of him because, as is the Kalista rule just in general, you've got to kill her in one rotation of CC, otherwise she just bounces away and she's very frustrating, and then she presses Rend and everyone dies. You know, things like that can happen. So hopefully, in Hanwha Life's dream scenario, Soul just doesn't exist in a team fight.
Well, that doesn't sound very nice.
Well, not very nice for Soul, but it is nice for anyone that wants Hanwha Life to win this game. And, you know, there's a lot of opportunities for Hanwha to be able to do that. They've got a lot of non-committal CC that they can throw out in the bubble. And, of course, Sungyun being able to get a sneaky Mystic shot in the right position. A lot of vision, though, top side of the map here for Hanwha Life Esports. They're not exactly a team that looks built for taking down the Baron, but their ability to catch a team in a Baron pit is certainly very, very high.
Keen right now trying to just make the most out of his temporary priority down there in bottom. Not going to be able to really find anything. And look at the control ward spread for Hanwha Life as Key uses the Abyssal Voyage to get back into mid lane and back into the lull state here, Atlas.
Yeah, we are definitely lulling.
I'm going to have to really actually tune in to some of the EU or NA games, which the games end at 22, 23 minutes.
And just have a look at what went wrong.
Yeah, what actually is going on, because I can't wrap my head around it.
Well, I mean, if you compare it to a game like this is certainly one that seems to be just slogging along. At the moment, Hanwha Life are doing their very best to avoid a Vladimir at all costs. As you can see, 1-3-1 is relatively enacted here between the two solo laners of the Afreeca Freecs. Vladimir on the bottom side, going to be pretty difficult to deny him anything, especially once that Void Staff comes in as item number 4, or 5 if you include boots in your item tally. But I'm looking at Soul, and I'm looking at a Bloodthirster being completed relatively soon. I'm looking at a Mortal Reminder being almost necessary here. Sungyun understands. Execution is calling, already in his back pocket. Wants to finish off that one, but he also needs to be hitting the Callista for that to actually register. There's going to be a lot of lifesteal available here as Tempt doesn't find any of the buttons. These are the ones that we were talking about when we saw Faker playing the Zoe earlier today. A lot of these bubbles were landing. Of course, you can't really condemn Tempt for missing some. He needs to be throwing out as many of them as possible. All right, Keen looking to make his way over. Sun once again getting himself into a decent position, flashing on forward. Key has to use the Grey health as Keen is on top of the Ezreal and the Tahm Kenshin. I think there was a catfish there, but he just exploded.
And this is going to mean that Afreeca are going to be the ones that can pick up the Infernal. Not the best of engage. You definitely can imagine that Lissandra was hoping to do a little bit more with that, but nonetheless, they bring down Key on the Tahm Kench.
Yep, and that's the only pick that they need in order to even out the Drakes. It's now Mountain and Infernal for both teams. Drake parity is a really scary thought because Afreeca Freecs have a lot of scaling opportunities. We've mentioned it before. This guy on your screen right here, yes, he is the one that we're talking about. But if Hanwha had have been able to get all 4 of the Drakes so far this game, we would have been talking about things like scaling in their favor.
And it would be all but over at this point. I mean, take a look at what's going on right here. Tahm Kench ends up trying to save his ADC, managed to do so in the end, but at the cost of his own life. As Afreeca continue to have these Vladimir gauges, and it's really all on Keen to save this game. Unfortunately for him, Ezreal hasn't started getting any magic resistance yet. He's still
most likely not going to have any in the build as well, because he's got that the Vampiric Scepter that I guess could instead of something like a Gunblade or a Blade of the Ruin King could be turned into a Mercurial Scimitar, but he has to complete that. He has no room to put a QSS in this build, so this is going to be an Ezreal that's very easy for Keen to kill for a very long time. Because it's also, Seraph's Embrace has to come first, and then Mercurial Scimitar. That's a lot of money that he just may not even get to in this game.
Interestingly, this is a game actually where Oblivion Orb on Zoe would be quite good. There's no magic resist to be seen. There it is.
Nicely done.
Morellonomicon going to be the item of choice for Tempt, and certainly going to help, along with the Executioner's calling it, trying to slow down and stun the Vladimir and Lissandra, and even the Callista healing. She does have the Bloodthirst.
Oh, exactly. Double lifesteal to come in, most likely triple, as the Mercurial Scimitar is surely going to be in there. Of course, a favorite one for Callista players is outer turret in the mid lane finally going to go down, and Afreeca feels like they're playing with a lot more confidence. And I've been seeing, like, Sun, these engages that he's been performing here for Afreeca Freecs, even though the last one he only managed to get a Circle of Frost onto 1, it still equaled a pick. It still equaled Afreeca making a proactive play and finding an advantage here on this map. And it's something that Afreeca haven't been able to find for themselves so far. I just find it so strange that UCAL is sitting on the bench after his performance in 2018. But if I'd only seen this year, then I could understand completely why he'd be putting a guy that used to be on Ever 8 winners in instead of him. It's a strange and wonderful world we live in.
It is. 2 minutes until another Infernal Drake. And we saw this earlier with SK Telecom. Because of the dynamic of this, it's really who gets the Baron first that can dictate who wins the game.
Yep.
And the gold at the top doesn't really matter. Does Vladimir and Lissandra blunder the engage? And if they do, Ezreal and Zoe will make quick work of the team composition. But if Ezreal and Zoe can dish out enough poke, then the rest of Vladimir's team can't engage with him, and then that's how they fall apart. And it's basically just this giant balancing act.
The problem is that the Vladimir that we're talking about, the Vladimir in question, if you will, is 600.
Is that good?
1,000 gold bounty, and very close to full item build. at 33 minutes into the game, plus an Infernal Drake and a Mountain Drake, and most likely inside track on the next Infernal Drake and the Baron, and they've got Soul Vision. Like, it's just feeling worse and worse for Hanwha as this game goes on.
And so, I mean, is that a strong Vladimir?
I'm going to go with strong. Let's lock in strong. I was wondering why you were looking concerned at me. You're just waiting for that one line. I love it. Perfect. Keen. Oh, he's going to take some damage there, though.
And that's what I'm talking about. If Ezreal can land enough of these Mystic shots before the fight can go off.
Well, I mean, Tal, he's the one that's going to get engaged on. Probably the only one Hanwha Life want to be engaged on. And that means that Afreeca do have to back away. Sun holds onto his ultimate. Everything is fine, and we're going to reset. Keen. When he comes in, he's going to have to hit that pull relatively quickly, or the Zhonya's, whichever one comes first.
They are pinging the Raptor camp, suggesting that maybe Keen can try to wrap around from there. Checking it with the Mystic Shot. He's going to show himself down in bottom.
Yeah, it does have teleport available as well, so that flank is still something that they have to respect. You can see already Hanwha are moving over towards this Baron pit, but they are going to bait it. Oh no, held on to. Okay, we're going to start this one off. It's immediately seen, and look at how much damage this is taking right now. Claw going to come in as Sun gets his way into the pit. Can we get there? It is going to be stolen! Somehow Dread makes his way into the Baron pit. Sun is most likely going to fall, but it's going to need a flash from Tal to get out of there as Soul able to jump around this fight still, as Tal will be zombie mode in the back end very soon. The Rend does come forward, and Keen finally makes his way towards the fight.
Vladimir!
Guys, did you miss me? Quadra kill for the Nosferatu man.
Yeah, he's looking for the Penta. Don't think Thal is going to give it to him, but what should have been a Baron for free for Hanwha Life, that teleport from Vladimir was too late to get to the Baron, and then Dread with the fantastic steal.
Dread came from
Baron
so far away. Oh my god. I wasn't expecting Dread to be able to actually get in there and steal it. When it was his name that came up on the Baron, I was like, well, how was he even in the pit? This is ridiculous. But Safeguard, of course, pretty damn good at closing distance and must have landed the Q that they needed. Insult and injury have been friends this week, as this Infernal Drake is going to mean they meet again.
Just want to take a look at this. Kalista has 333 AD. Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
All right.
That's
cool.
a lot. 324 now.
Yep. Quick math, by the way.
Some big damages.
Taking another quick look at this. Look at Dread. He comes in, gets the smite.
Oh, man.
So clutch. And you know, we've had a day of Baron steal.
We have.
Today, Atlas. And look at Vladimir coming. And Zoe tempted to not want any part of that. Didn't really matter.
God. He's just so big. Look at that flash forward. I mean, there was a Xin there. But it's just too much. You barely need to channel the tides of blood to do it. Oh my goodness. This game went to hell in a handbasket real fast. 10-0-0 on the Vladimir now. All right, Keen. All right. You got to steady on. Steady on.
The balancing act right now, though, is can they hold off for a minute and a half? Because, like we saw earlier tonight, it's not over. It's not over till the fat lady sings.
Yeah.
So
she's warming up, but she hasn't actually let it go just yet. I wonder if that's what she's going to be singing.
So far, they are stalling the Baron. I do think that they have one more wave to make use of.
But look,
Keen,
they need 5 people to stop Keen from pushing in a minion wave.
This is going to be the bottom inhibitor turret falling in. Unlike in the SK Telecom series, Afreeca, they're going to get 2 really valuable inhibitors.
Yeah, bot lane inhib. Like you mentioned earlier on, certainly worth a whole lot, especially when you're going to be playing around Baron buffs. Next one's going to be an Elder, but that's going to be in 3 minutes' time. 20 seconds to go on that Baron, but they've broken the base in 2 places, the 2 ideal places. That's a high-value True Shot Barrage, but that's the most value that Hanwha Life have got in the last, what feels like 15 minutes of this game. Oh my god. Soul it's almost impossible to kill him. He's got a Guardian Angel now, as well as his QSS, and he already hasn't died so far this game. 1-0-8. Feels like Keen's been stealing everything from everyone.
Yeah, and Vladimir is just putting on so much work. 878 AP. What the heck?
Tides of Blood, 0 channel does 500
He
damage
has
to blue buff.
Transcendence, so he just got AP from blue buff.
Yeah, of course.
Nice.
That's how you do this build. That's
Yeah.
that's why you only need 20% to get to 45% CDR.
That's
It's
cool.
just stupid. Yeah, it's really cool. It's great.
Why is that stupid? Tell me why. Break it down for me.
I feel like you need to build closer to 45% CDR in order to get 45% CDR, you know?
We need to get the balance team on here. I think we need items that just give 30% out the window.
Upgrade Frozen Heart. No one builds that item anymore anyway. Whoa, that one did a lot more than the last
That
one.
would be interesting. 30% Frozen Heart?
Yeah.
Someone might actually build it again.
It doesn't sound balanced. We see it, you know?
Sometimes,
there was that time
occasionally.
when that Scion built the Frozen Heart in a different region.
Probably why he built it.
I won't mention which region I was watching as well, because that's only going to make things worse for my argument. Ravenous Deathcap's done for Keen. When is he going to sell his boots? And just buy more AP. So, right now, he's killing a Rift Scholar. Not entirely sure why. Because, oh my god.
Why not?
The Crimson Rush just critted for over 1,000 damage.
Do you think Vladimir's like Edward Cullen when he just eats animals?
I mean, they're both vampires.
Don't even tell me you didn't watch Twilight.
Of course I did.
Vladimir's not a vampire.
He's a hemomancer.
I was testing you.
He's a hemomancer.
Yes.
Yeah. Isn't that a vampire? Basically.
I mean, he may as well be a vampire.
He now has
we
the
need a lore
he has
rework.
the Nosferatu skin.
Right.
So in this particular
In this
iteration
game,
of
he
the
is.
universe, yeah, he is in fact a vampire. That's how that one works.
Twilight was a great story. No? Just leaving me hanging, huh?
I'm going to let that one go for reasons I'm not going to discuss right now. As Keen might actually be caught out here. The Hemo Plague does go down, but look at how fast he goes. What the heck was that? Spellbinder as well as the Phase Rush, and he's booking it. He's going to be able to use his dash cannon, get out of the way to the side, but that's a lot of buttons now that he doesn't have. Can still go golden, but Spellbinder being on cooldown and needing to recharge is certainly something that Hanwha Live can now play around. Interesting that that's what we're talking about as the big takeaway, as Keen has both of his summoner spells and Zhonya's still available.
Now the Baron.
Another high-value True Shot barrage.
It is started. I talked about this last time. When you're the smart team composition, you want the Elder, because even if the enemy has
wait
Baron...
for this. Sun's going to be able to claw his way in. Hero's Entrance is going to be available as well. Can we actually start the fight? Hero's Entrance, good double knock-up, but not a lot of follow-up. In comes Keen. Does have Flash, like we were talking about. Key blast cones his way back into the pit, and this could be just the eradication of Hanwha Live. Sangyun over to the side. He's looking to try and take down Dread, but Dread ain't doing it. It's the flash forward from the Vlad Tal against the World, but the World's gonna beat you this time because the World has that huge Hemomancer on the top side.
He's running away. He wants to be somewhere else right now.
Yeah, he wants to get to the Death Chamber as quickly as possible. It's like zombie mode. No, I don't want this. I don't want this. Not like this.
Well, that is going to be the Nexus turrets falling.
And what is going to be the analysis from this game as well? Because the Afreeca Freecs, they came out, they had their old roster, they had Yukal, they